Well, folks, Republican House Speaker Kevin McCarthy has officially decided to open an impeachment inquiry into President Biden without actually having Republicans and, the rest of the House vote on bringing an impeachment inquiry into President Biden. And with this decision, Kevin McCarthy has officially sealed his fate as quite possibly the worst Republican Speaker of the House that we have ever seen in the history of the House of Representatives ever. Were's what happened, in case you wanted a little backstory. Matt Gaetz was so upset because earlier this week, we're only in Wednesday, but earlier this week, it was starting to be reported, that Kevin McCarthy wasn't 100% on board with the impeachment. He had Republican senators in his ear telling him this is a dumb idea. He had Republicans in the House, including, Ken Buck from the Freedom Caucus, telling him this is a dumb idea. So McCarthy was starting to back off a little bit. So then on Monday, Matt Gaetz, according to reports, prepared basically a long list of complaints against Kevin McCarthy that he was going to bring to the House floor on Tuesday, potentially to set up a vote to strip Kevin McCarthy of his speakership. As soon as Kevin McCarthy got word of that Matt Gaetz was in fact going to flex his muscle, Kevin McCarthy backed down and gave Matt Gaetz everything that he wanted and said, we will do an impeachment inquiry, and guess what? I won't even make the House vote on it, even though several years ago, I still have up on my Twitter feed that in order to open an impeachment inquiry, you have to have a full House vote approving it. But I won't even go by my own standards. I'm so terrified of this little nitwit from Florida that I'm just going to let him do whatever the hell he wants to do, even though it is going to end in catastrophe for the Republican Party. Here's what I've said. And those of you who are loyal viewers here at Ring of Fire, you've heard me say this 100 times, but I'll have to say it 100 more apparently. There's no good outcome with this impeachment inquiry for Republicans, because either you launch the inquiry and then you gather whatever evidence you think exists, even though your own party tells you it doesn't exist, and then the vote fails to move forward with articles of impeachment. Or you're able to bring articles, but then the articles fail. Or you're able to bring articles, pass the articles, and then the Senate doesn't convict. And then you end up creating a lot of sympathy for Joe Biden, much like Republicans did for Bill Clinton in 1998. And then you all get your butts handed to you in next year's general election. That is the most likely outcome for Republicans. But depending on where it happens, like where the failure happens along the process, it's going to look so much worse. Like if they're unable to even get enough Republicans to vote to bring articles of impeachment out, then they are toast. If they can't even pass the articles of impeachment in the House, then they're a bunch of fools. And then, of course, over in the Senate, he's going to be very quickly acquitted, and then you create all the sympathy. So he's sealed his fate. This is what Kevin McCarthy is going to do. And Matt Gaetz knew it. As much as I despise Matt Gaetz, got to give him a little bit of credit here, because he did, when he agreed to the terms to make Kevin McCarthy Speaker all those months ago, he said that he was essentially, quote, putting a straitjacket on McCarthy because one single person, like Matt Gaetz, could challenge a speakership, bring it up to another full vote, and possibly kick McCarthy out. And McCarthy is so terrified of losing that power that he actually gave all the power to the crazies, and now those lunatics are the ones calling the shots, even though, as McCarthy knows, those lunatics are going to cost his party next year's election. Ring of Fire has fresh content 7 days a week, so if you want to be reminded about it, don't forget to subscribe to the channel, hit the little bell to be notified every time a new video goes up.